evening, my friends. Welcome to Program to Know Spiritism, number 126. I'm Geraldo Lemos Neto, and I'm here with Marco Gandra from Portal Saber Espiritismo in Belo Horizonte, Brazil. We are continuing studying the last book by Allan Kardec, the Genesis, the Miracles, and the Predictions according to Spiritism. Tonight, we are transmitting live for Kardec Radio, Spiritism Dissemination, and Discover Spiritism Network. As you remember, the last time we talked about the Genesis and the relationship between Spiritism and the Scriptures. As we know, Allan Kardec wrote about the Moses Genesis and its relation to the truth and the approach that Spiritism has on the Genesis from the angle of secure knowledge, or in other words, from the angle of science. As he himself wrote in the chapter 16, verse 17 of his last book, The Genesis, it is probable that the veiled form had, at a certain time, its reason for being and even its necessity. However, today the circumstances are different. And in the item 12, he wrote, "Let us not forget and let us not reject the biblical Genesis. Instead, study it as if studying the history of childhood of the peoples." So, in his words, Allan Kardec is comparing the Moses Genesis, written in the first book of the Old Testament, the book of Genesis, as the history of the childhood of humanity, of all peoples. It is important, but it is not a reference for the Genesis according to Spiritism. At that time, it was necessary. In that certain time, it has its own reasons because the people were not advanced enough. But as he himself wrote in the item 4 of the chapter 12, he stated, as soon as it was based on the experimental method, science felt stronger and emancipated. Today, it is science that controls the Bible, so that we understand with Allan Kardec the role of science, studying the genesis, the material genesis of Earth, of the solar systems, of the galaxies, and also the spiritual genesis of all beings, the spirit, and the evolution process of all spirits must be in a strong hand, in a strong ground, with the experimental method of science. And with science, we can feel it stronger and emancipated from all fantasies, so that we have the need for selection. What kind of Genesis we assume is real in according to Spiritism, not the creational Genesis, because this was for the childhood of humanity, but in other words, the evolution and the science process of the Genesis as Spiritism assumes for itself. In the introduction of this book, the character of the Spiritism revelation, Allan Kardec resumed. It can be divided, this book, into 5 parts. The subjects contained in the Gospels, the common acts of Christ's life, the miracles, the predictions, the words that were taken by the Church to ground its dogmas, and the moral teachings. The first 4 have been the subject of controversy. The later, however, remained constantly unassailable. And that's why Kardec, in this book, when he will approach the subject of the Consoler, wrote that the moral teachings of the Gospel of Jesus is the most important part of the New Testament. And all the other 4 parts are subject to some controversy and misunderstanding. So the common acts of Christ's life and the miracles are analyzed in this book in the next part. Also, the predictions according to Spiritism or the mediumship of prophecy are all of that analyzed also from the chapter 16 on. Also, he will analyze the words that were taken by the church to ground its dogmas and make light on them. But most of all, the last part of this book, chapter 18, he analyzes the moral teachings of Jesus, the moral teachings of the gospel of Jesus Christ as the most important part of the New Testament. And that's why in Spiritism we assume Jesus as our guide and mentor, the highest spirit that God gave us to show us the pathway to love and to knowledge and to wisdom. But we will talk about that in the next programs. Thank you for listening. Hope you all have a very good night. See you later. Bye bye.